The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all of the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon. Did you guys see the Knuckles and the Quiet Place Day 1 trailers drop?
Yeah. I took the time to watch both of those trailers.
I did not see the Knuckles trailer, but I did watch the Quiet Place Day 1 trailer, and I'm ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first of all, the Super Bowl's coming up. Is that tomorrow?
Yes.
As of this recording, the Super Bowl is tomorrow, and there's going to be hopefully a lot of awesome trailers dropping. But they're already starting to come out. And A Quiet Place Day 1 was one that was supposed to come out during the Super Bowl. When did it come out? Like Thursday, Friday, something like that?
Yeah, it came out Thursday.
I almost didn't watch it because I don't know. I was hesitant. I'm like, maybe I'll just wait until maybe they'll drop an even bigger one at the Super Bowl. But then I started to doubt myself, like probably not. So I put it on, and I've been someone who has been like excited for this movie, but also a little bit worried because I really like A Quiet Place for the family aspect of it. And the monsters are kind of like the bonus, whereas I feel like with Day 1, they're making the monsters the feature. And that trailer was awesome, though. when I watched that trailer, I was like, it does feel different to me than A Quiet Place. Like if this was just a generic alien invasion movie that didn't have the flashes of the previous movies at the beginning of the trailer, you could probably convince me that this wasn't a part of A Quiet Place. But the imagery was awesome. There were some scenes in there that did look thrilling. I loved the tagline at the end where it said, "The day the earth went quiet." I mean, that gave me just the chills. But I am a little bit worried still about so much of the monsters being featured and it just being like a kill 'em bloodbath, not so much the suspenseful, almost drama family dynamic that it had in the previous movies. But you said you really dug it, T. So what did you think of the trailer?
So I'm not gonna lie, like when I saw this shot of New York and then the asteroids coming down, I don't know why Armageddon just popped in my head. Like I felt like this whole it felt very Michael Bayish, how everything just started exploding and it like a Transformers movie almost, which is a bad thing. We don't want to go that route. But I just it I think it's going to depend on the actors because I think Krasinski, Kransky. I'm sorry.
You
you
had
had
it
it
right
right.
the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt really grounded the first movie. I think Lupita Nyong'o is an amazing actress. I don't know who her character is supposed to be in this movie. I think that's a lot of the mystery of the movie, and I think that's what's going to draw me into it. And if she's well written, I think it'll be great. Like I'm not too worried about it being too sci-fi, too alienish. But I think if they have great characters, I think it'll work out fine. I'm really excited for this movie.
What do you think, Ryan? Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. And again, maybe I don't have quite the same level of worry about the transition from a more intimate setting to a city, but it seems at the very least, if they're going big, they are going all the way at the very least. I mean, the idea of, monsters that hunt on sound and landing in a city, it's like, well, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see, just the pure, at the very least, it looks like quite the spectacle. So at least it seems to have that going for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, Lupita Nyong'o, she I've liked her work. So yeah, just really excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah. I think the best way to describe why I have my hesitation is because at the beginning of A Quiet Place Part 2, they kind of already did this. They did the first day, and it was just like, everyone was making sound because no one knew that you couldn't make sound or else these monsters would get you. So it was just like everybody was just dying. It was just this massacre on the streets. And for like a 15-minute opening sequence, I was very entertained. I really enjoyed it. It was cool to see, but now I kind of feel like I've seen it. You know what I mean? So like a full hour and a half, maybe 2 hour long movie of that. I don't know. I don't know if I'd rather just continue with The Quiet Place Part 3, but like I said, I am looking forward to it. Another trailer that dropped that I will admit I had no interest in. I almost didn't watch the trailer, but then I was just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to watch this trailer. The Knuckles TV series came out. And Terrence, you haven't seen this trailer, but Ryan, you said you did?
Yes.
I'm curious what you thought of the Knuckles trailer and what did you think of the Sonic movies overall?
So the Sonic movies overall, they were decent times at the movies. I feel like, between the two movies, there are some things I enjoy in the first, but some things I enjoy better in the second, and vice versa. I don't know. I haven't really thought about them until now with the announcement, on your channel the other night about Jim Carrey coming back. But I remember enjoying them well enough. As for the Knuckles series, again, I no thought about that until the trailer dropped in the announcement, but I checked it out and yeah, I don't know, it looks good. Idris Elba has a nice straight man role to all the goofiness going on. There's a nice self-aware tone, but it seems to be taking itself seriously enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was not looking forward to this. I did not care. I haven't really cared much about the Sonic movies in general. Just didn't grow up with the property, so those movies just were not the things that got me hooked on Sonic. It just wasn't enough for me. But the trailer was a lot of fun. I thought it was the only part of the trailer I didn't really like. It was one line where the bad guy says to Knuckles, "What makes you think I need your power?" And it was
Oh,
like, "Oh,
right.
because he said that to
Yeah.
Sonic in Sonic 2. Ha ha, funny,
He
funny."
said that thing. He said that thing.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. I
exactly.
get that.
That was
Yeah.
the
All
one
right.
time
That's
where I kind of
fair.
rolled my eyes, but the rest of it looked like a lot of fun. I was surprised to see how much Sonic was in there, and also the jokes in the trailer did work for me. That mailman bit,
Oh yeah, I love that guy. He
that
must
mailman
defeat
bit.
his most feared enemy, and the mailman's there just standing there all scared, like, and the lady's like, "Is that the mailman?"
Yeah, I laughed out loud at that. I thought that was hilarious. And I mean, look, Sonic is a big property for Paramount, and it looks like Paramount is taking that property very seriously. You know who's not taking their property seriously? That's Warner Brothers, and that's going to take us into our first topic here, guys. Because this has been a story I've been very interested in following. I am not like the biggest Looney Tunes fan in the world. I'll admit that. Like, if this movie wasn't being canceled, I probably would not have even given it a second thought until the trailer came out, and then maybe I would have watched the trailer, but that's just not how it went down. How it went down was this movie was getting canned. You had all these insiders coming out saying it was great. Even Phil Lord and Christopher Miller came out and gave their endorsement of how great it was and emotional and all this stuff. And there was hope that Warner Brothers was not going to just throw this in the vault, never to be seen again, when they started to shop it around. Netflix showed interest. I believe Amazon showed interest. We kind of went silent on what was happening with the acquisitions until today. And today we got some pretty sad news because this comes to us from The Wrap. And they say, with Warner Brothers Discovery's fourth quarter earnings call scheduled for February 23rd, Coyote versus Acme is running out of time. Many on the film's team feel that the studio will use the ending of the quarter to get the movie off the books for good. Coyote versus Acme is running up against something worse than a tunnel painted into the side of a mountain or a falling anvil. It will finally be silenced by a movie studio's balance sheet. In a truly inglorious end, a source close to the movie doesn't believe that Warner Brothers would even announce that they hadn't found a home for the movie. They would just unceremoniously delete it, never to be seen again. So I want to throw it to you first, Terrence. Have you been following this story of Coyote versus Acme? I spelled Acme wrong in the title there. I just noticed. So before anyone gets me in the comments, I've noticed.
I
What are your thoughts on
mean,
Coyote versus Acme? And what do you think of the Looney Tunes? Are you a big fan of them?
So I grew up on the Looney Tunes. I'm a little bit older. Like in the infancy of the Cartoon Network, it was like 90% Looney Tunes. Like they literally they would just play Looney Tunes all day. Um, and I enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Who Framed Roger Rabbit and movies like that. And Space Jam, that was a classic, Looney Tunes movie. I was one of the 5 people on the planet who enjoy Space Jam too. I enjoyed LeBron's Space Jam. And my kids enjoyed it, which is way more important. But so I kept seeing like little notes about this movie being canceled, and then it was supposed to come on Paramount Plus, and then it was canceled again. Like I felt like I kept hearing that they were trying to put it in the theaters. I honestly didn't care about it. It was like the same picture of like somebody in a courtroom, like every single article had the same picture, and I just thought that was funny. But it just wasn't something that really registered too hard with me. It wasn't something I was looking forward to. When I heard it was coming out on Paramount Plus, or when I thought that they said it was going to come out on Paramount Plus, I was like, well, I'll watch that at home with my kids. The kid, just a little bit of nostalgia for me, and my kids would be, catching up on with Bugs Bunny, like, because they really enjoy Space Jam too. Like they enjoyed the Looney Tune characters, so I know that they would enjoy it. So now that it's ending, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It probably won't matter to them because they've never seen any commercials for it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, like, this is definitely one of those stories that is definitely only concerning to us in the film community bubble, because we're kind of the only people that even know that this movie is about to be canceled. Like the general audience, like they don't know. They don't care, and that's one of the reasons why Warner Brothers is allegedly deleting this movie too, is because they don't believe that they can get their money back for it. And I guess the price tag that they want for it, other people who are they're shopping it around to, don't think they can get the money back for it as well. So it is totally a business sense of thing. And I in that way I kind of understand it, because like the Batgirl situation, people freaked out about, and I was very disappointed about too, because Michael Keaton was supposed to be back as Batman and Batgirl, and now we'll never even see a single frame of that, and that's disappointing. But the word of mouth for that movie was terrible. Allegedly, if you believe the reports, if you believe the people on the inside who claim to have seen it, they were all like, believe me, this should be canceled. You guys should be thanking Warner Brothers that you never have to see this piece of crap, is basically how they all felt about that movie.
Not to interrupt you.
Yeah, go
but
for
are
it.
these the same people that said The Flash was the greatest superhero movie? Like, are we taking this? Are we taking their word for? I'm sorry, I had to get that joke in there.
The Flash people were the creatives in Warner Brothers, if you want to call David Zaslav a creative, and James Gunn and all these people were saying that. Whereas I believe some of the people might have been inside Warner Brothers, but some of them were just like run-of-the-mill critics, journalists who had saw Batgirl. I think they hosted like this graveyard screening or whatever. I thought it was such a cruel presentation. They were like, come see the death of Batgirl. Like, it was like, man, that's a horrible premiere to go to if you're part of that movie. but
Yes.
I understood it, because okay, the movie's terrible, people are saying it's terrible. I guess we're not in the age anymore where you just have to put out terrible movies because you've made them and they just have to come out. I guess you can delete them. But that was also the start of a worrisome for me, because now we get to Coyote versus Acme, which it's a business decision, but it also feels like an entitlement of an opinion decision, if that makes sense, because this is just the heads of Warner Brothers who have all the power with this movie. They just believe themselves, we don't think this movie's good enough. Well, who's to say the audience wouldn't think it's good enough? Who thought that Barbie was going to make $1 billion? Like, honestly, like look at Barbie. Who thought that movie would ever make over $1 billion? If you had someone at the time in power who watched Barbie and just thought, this is weird, this isn't aligned with my points of view of the world or something, I think this is terrible, let's just tax write it off because we don't believe this movie's going to make money, you never would have had that $1 billion hit. And I feel like with the business decision to cancel Coyote versus Acme, it just feels so premature, and it feels kind of selfish to me, where they just are like, we don't think this movie is going to make money, but if you market it, if you give it a chance, if it's as good as the people who are seeing it are saying that it is, word of mouth might spread. You might be surprised how much money it makes. And I just don't like this precedent of, we can just cancel movies now. Like if we don't believe in them, we can just get rid of them. How Madam Web is still coming out, I don't know. But Ryan, what do you think of this Coyote versus Acme situation with it being canceled, being canned? Do you think that this is just a fair business decision, or do you think it's kind of a selfish take like I kind of think it is?
I mean, so again, I haven't followed it. The most research I did was just like last night. I read up the article from
Mhm.
the little snippet you showed earlier. I read the full article, and just the sheer level of apathy. Like apparently, the studio execs they just didn't show up for the screenings. They could
Yep.
barely be bothered to care about. It's like I don't know, it goes beyond selfishness. It goes into almost borderline incompetency. It's like this is what you are getting paid millions of dollars to do, to manage movies, to say like it's like okay, I don't know, we'll just make it VOD or just I don't know. It's like you are spending so much money. Movies require a lot of money and a lot of miracles just to get made, no less
Mhm.
be profitable, and to not even at least give it an inkling of a chance. Like heck, even like the interview, with Seth Rogen and James Franco, even after that whole North Korean hacking nuke threat fiasco of a situation, they at least put it on Google Play. They gave it a chance. And
Yep.
I don't know, from what I recall, it didn't make that much money. At best was a modest hit, but they gave it a chance. They were like, we put all this effort into making this movie. It would be a waste not to release it. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers, it's like, they're practically rolling up the $100 bills and smoking them. It's like, just what is going on over there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, David Zaslav, I haven't been a hater nor have I been a fan of David Zaslav up until this point. Like he gets scorched on Twitter almost every single day with people calling for him to be fired and all this stuff. And I don't know. I haven't had that strong of feelings towards him. But like you mentioned in the rest of this article, which if you guys haven't read this article, I encourage you to go to the wrap and read this full article. I can put it down in the description as well for you to check out. But it does say that like allegedly he hasn't even watched the movie. Allegedly he had his producers and his executives have seen like a director's cut of it, which I don't even know what that means. Like wouldn't that just be the movie if it's the director's cut? I don't really understand that. And then another one has just seen the audience cut. I don't understand that either. There's two different cuts. I don't know. But it just seems to me like Terrence, I wonder if you agree with me here. If David Zaslav hasn't seen this and he's just deciding I mean, I know that David Zaslav doesn't have all the time in the world, but is he doing his job properly if he's making these decisions without firsthand looks at these movies that it has hired people? I mean, this is from the old regime, so you can also say that as well. He did not greenlight this. He did not get this into motion. He looked at it probably on a piece of paper, saw that it was scheduled to come out and be like, "What the heck is that? Get that out of here." Do you think that this is a poor job done by him, or how have you felt about David Zaslav, if anything, up until this
I've
point?
never, until the question you just asked me, I've never thought of David Zaslav. Like, I don't consider Warner Brothers to be the Warner Brothers that I grew up with.
Right.
Um, and like the Looney Tunes IP itself is not the same IP that it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. Like 50 years ago, when I'm dating myself tremendously here, but about 30 years ago when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came, that was an event. Like that
Mhm.
was like that was like it was actually bridging the generations of people who grew up with Looney Tunes and then like this new generation with Roger Rabbit and all of these other characters. Now at this point, like I don't understand why this movie was greenlit to begin with, like to be
Mhm.
the theatrical, release. I could definitely see it being like a video on demand, something that's very low budget, just to kind of get the kids laughing.
I do think it was originally supposed to be just straight to HBO Max.
Yeah, I could see that, right? That makes sense because kids are gonna watch. Like kids see funny things, like as they're scrolling through. My kids do this all the time. I'm only speaking from experience. They'll just scroll through and they'll see something that looks interesting. And they'll just watch it, right? So this movie was going to get kids to watch it because it's animation. It's Looney Tunes. Like it's built. It's made for kids to see funny things, happen to the coyote. What in the world? Bixby just started queuing, I guess, when I start talking about Looney Tunes. But yeah, like it's built to react, for kids to react to it. And David Zaslav not seeing it, there being people who say it's great. That's great. Like I wouldn't take their word for it because once again, people said that The Flash was great. So those people really don't hold any stock anymore. Anytime I hear anybody say how great a movie is, it takes somebody that I trust. Like I would go to your channel before I listen to Tom Cruise say that something is great, and it's the best, animated movie he's ever seen. So him not doing his job, I mean, like you said, he doesn't have enough time. I know I wouldn't have enough time to see every movie that my studio makes if I was in charge of Warner Brothers. So maybe he got word from someone close to him that it wasn't great, and that person is not doing their job either. So maybe both of them need to be fired. I don't know. But I mean, I wouldn't hold too much stock in like hating him per se for not seeing it or not doing his job because I don't think it's his job to like watch every single movie. From that aspect of it, should he have done it? Maybe before you just shelve it. I would just put it out there because I feel like it'll make money no matter what. Like you don't have to advertise it; just throw it on a streaming service, and it's gonna find a way to get some views.
Yeah. No, I mean, I also don't believe that it is his job to see every movie. But Twitter seems to think that it might be. So I wanted to throw that out there and see what we all thought about that. But I want to throw it to you, Ryan, as well, because I think realistically, most of Twitter, most people in our film community sphere, they don't really care about this movie that much. Like I said, admittedly, if this wasn't the situation for this movie, I wouldn't really be talking about it probably until I saw a
It's the
trailer that blew me
principle
away.
of it.
Exactly. It's the principle of it. It's the principle of we've now seen Warner Brothers delete Batgirl. Okay, fine. You said it was terrible. That's fine. Scooby-Doo and the Haunted, whatever, Halloween. I don't remember what it was, but they got rid of that too. And now we're seeing this happen with Coyote versus Acme. They're just throwing it in the trash can. I think this is a dangerous precedent for Hollywood that they can just take movies that they personally don't believe in and just toss them in the trash. And I'm wondering, Ryan, what you think of that. Are you thinking, is this something that we're going to see eventually become the norm in Hollywood? Do you think it's something that needs to be nipped in the bud, or do you think this is just like a special occasion?
I don't like the trend it's setting. At least for Warner Brothers, it doesn't seem to have spread to other studios. But the situation kind of got me thinking about the film like Chaos Walking. Like, remember that film, Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley? Like
Barely.
that film was delayed so hard. It was reshot so much. And I don't know, the film had to fight to the death just to get a release, and it wasn't even that good when it was. And I don't know, maybe it just like screams of I don't know. It comes down to like, why are you managing these movies if you don't at least kind of like movies? Like it's like it comes down to, do you believe in your property? Like, because they seem to believe in Chaos Walking. After all, they put in so much time and effort. It didn't seem to work out in the end, both either critically or commercially, but they put in the effort. With this one, it's just kind of blasé. I don't know. It's like, just put it on a streaming service. You can put it at the very bottom right-hand corner. It's an asset.
Yeah. No, and I do think the trend is spreading a little bit because we did just have that announcement of Netflix just canceled. I think it was Halle Berry's movie. I think it was Halle Berry's movie. I think it was
Yes,
called
it
like The
was.
Mothership. Now their reasoning for canceling that, I guess, was it was shot in like 2021 and they had to do a bunch of reshoots, but the kids in the movie are now like through puberty, so it wouldn't make sense. But I don't know. At that point, I'm just kind of like, well, why even do the reshoots then? Just put the movie out as is if it's not perfect in that sense. But no, they just decided to get rid of the whole thing. So I do see it becoming a trend. I do see it becoming a thing that Hollywood is doing now. And I feel like Coyote versus Acme is the epitome of it. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about the story, is because I feel bad for the director. I feel bad for the actors. I feel bad for everyone who put their blood, sweat, and tears into the animation, into this film, and it's just getting tossed in the trash. And yeah, there's a business side to it, there's a creative side to it, but I think we can just end this with the buy or sell portion. Do we buy or sell the cancellation, the throwaway of Coyote versus Acme? I personally don't. I'd like to see it.
So
I'm so indifferent. There you go.
I don't like. I
Fair
don't like the principle. But yeah, all right, fair enough. Dude.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, hey, I can totally see where you're coming from too, because yeah, not everyone's gonna care about this, and maybe it will crash and burn at the box office. This could end up being the right decision for Warner Brothers to make from a business perspective, but it also could be a colossal fail. We just won't know until they actually put the movie out.
For sure.
All right. Speaking of a movie that they've decided to put out, this came out of nowhere. I don't know about you guys. I didn't even know that Moana, the TV series, was in the works at Disney Plus. I didn't know anything was happening with Moana besides that live action Dwayne Johnson movie that they're inexplicably doing. I don't know why they're doing that, but hey, you know what? It might make a lot of money. Moana is pretty popular, and it's proving pretty popular because we are getting a Moana 2 a lot sooner than I think any one of us expected to get it. This comes to us from Variety saying, "The line where the sky meets the sea is calling Moana once again. Disney announced a sequel to Moana, which will be released theatrically on November 27th. Just November 27th, because that is November 27th of this year. It's February, and this thing comes out in November, and it's just being announced. The company's CEO Bob Iger revealed the news on CNBC ahead of Disney's first quarter of fiscal 2024 earnings report. The second Moana was originally developed as a TV series, but became a feature film because Iger was impressed with the footage. Moana remains an incredibly popular franchise, Iger said in a statement. We can't wait to give you more of Moana and Maui when Moana 2 comes to theaters this November. According to Disney, Moana 2 will take audiences on an expansive new voyage with Moana, Maui, and a brand new crew of unlikely seafarers. After receiving an unexpected call from her wayfinding ancestors, Moana must journey to the far seas of Oceania and into danger, long lost waters for an adventure unlike anything she's ever faced before." So that comes to us from Variety. This is interesting to me. This is interesting to me on a couple places. I mean, first of all, the fact that they were making a Moana TV series in secret and no one really knew about it, that's interesting to me. The fact that Bob Iger is now looking at the footage that they put together and now he wants to construct this into a movie is also interesting to me, because this is something that I feel like Bob Chapek, when he was in charge of Disney, kind of missed. Because how often did we watch Disney Plus series, whether it was Obi-Wan, whether it was, I don't know, Ms. Marvel, whatever it was, and we sat there at the end of the 6 episodes and thought to ourselves, this could have just been a movie. Like this didn't need to be a series. They could have just done this as a movie. They even had a fan cut together an Obi-Wan movie out of the footage from the TV series. And I personally have not seen that cut, but people who have seen that cut have all said it's triumphs over the series. So take that as you will. But the fact that they want to not just turn this into a movie, which honestly, if you're asking me, do I want a Moana series or do I want a Moana movie? I'm going with the movie 100%. I really enjoyed the first film. And so to see the second one in theaters is definitely what I would prefer over just sitting and watching a couple episodes at home on Disney Plus. In fact, I probably wouldn't even get around to watching the series on Disney Plus, if I'm being honest with myself. But the fact that they're constructing this into a movie, that's interesting to me as well, because I think that either shows a ton of faith in the story and in the structure of it that they put together, for lack of a better word, that it deserves to be seen on the big screen. The pessimistic side of me, with this coming out so soon this November, Disney did not have a great box office last year. I mean, compared to the box office seasons of their past. Last year, the Marvels bombed, Indiana Jones underperformed. They had some failures. Even Pixar's Elemental gained some momentum, but it didn't get up to Pixar normal numbers, I would say.
It was a sleeper hit.
It was a sleeper hit for sure. Whereas Moana, I mean, that was a certified hit when it came out in 2016. If you're trying to make up for last year's box office and get a little bit more money this box office, I mean, putting out Moana 2 in November, not a bad way to go. But I want to throw it to you, Ryan. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Are you excited for Moana 2? Do you think that we should have faith that they're taking a TV series and making it into a movie, or do you think that that's just a cash grab?
I'm just excited for the opportunity to add a different movie to my niece's film rotation because again, I've got two nieces, and it's like whenever they come over, it's like, okay, time to put on a movie. It's like, oh, what's it going to be? Frozen, Frozen 2, Frozen, Olaf's Journey, and or Moana. It's like, oh, thank goodness there's something new to the mix. Thank you. Thank you. But I mean, with regards to whether this could be, I don't know. It's again, aside from the aforementioned jokes about my nieces watching it, I don't know. I never saw it in theaters, and I never got to enjoy it in a way that would allow me to appreciate it. Because
Mm.
when you've seen it so non-linearly cut up, paused, it takes any level of novelty and enjoyment out of it pretty fast.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I saw Moana when it came out in theaters. I just like on a whim. I took my brother. He was younger at the time. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll take you to go see Moana. Why not? It's Disney. I might like it. Ended up loving it. I loved it. Loved the songs, loved the characters, loved the world, loved the animation. I loved the first Moana movie. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited that there's a second one. But Terrence, what do you think? Did you like the first Moana, or do you think your kids are gonna be really excited for Moana too? How do you feel about this announcement?
I feel absolutely nothing about this announcement. My kids, on the other hand, oh, they're gonna, oh man, my daughter grew up just loving Moana. She's watched Moana, the original. She knows all of the songs. She's watched the original Moana probably 500, and like Ryan said, like I've seen it cut up. I think I've watched it maybe once, like all the way through. I've fallen asleep to it quite a bit of times because she'll sit there and watch it. And my son, he's not, as big of a Moana fan. He's a few years younger than her. By the time he was born and he, started watching anything, she was already past that.
Mm.
But I'm definitely going to take them to the theater. This sounds like a Thanksgiving release, so this definitely will be something that the family does. We'll go out and check it out, and I know my daughter is going to be excited. She loves Moana. She has, I bought her the little heart thing for her birthday one year, and she still has it.
Aw.
She just like
Aw.
she really enjoys that property. Now, whether it's a cash grab or not, we went and saw Wish last year, and that was very underwhelming.
Mm.
So I think Disney is trying to rebound from that more than anything, like putting out an animated movie to still be an animation studio, um, like a premier animation studio, even though Pixar is like, part of Disney, like the traditional Walt Disney animation. I think that they're reaching with this one, like they're reaching to kind of get it back. And hopefully Mufasa does well, because if Mufasa doesn't do well, I think that's going to hurt this movie more than anything, because we're just revisiting, previous IPs that are very successful. Like the Lion King is like one of the most beloved
Mhm.
properties, and Moana has become one of the most beloved properties that Disney has. So hopefully both of them do well. I would hate. I know kids are going to see Moana too. Like it's
Yeah.
inevitable,
Yep.
that this movie is going to make a boatload of money because of the success of the first Moana. So I'm excited to take my kids. I'm excited to see their excitement when they go see it in the theater.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
But Ryan, there are two things that this report mentions that I don't have the words for them at the moment, but as this report goes on, there's two things that Moana 2 may not have from the first Moana. The first one we know is Lin-Manuel Miranda. I can never say his name right. He did all the music for the first film. He's not coming back for the sequel. Maybe it's just they didn't have him for the TV series because it was a TV series, and now they want to get this out in November. It's probably too late to get him. Another one, and this is probably even bigger than Lin-Manuel Miranda. The Rock was apparently not signed on to do this for the TV series. Now the article says they're hopeful that they can get Dwayne Johnson back for the sequel. The original girl, Alia Carveo, I think is her name. She's signed on. She was going to do the series. She's doing the movie. We're going to have the original voice of Moana. Do you think that by losing Lin-Manuel Miranda, and if they can't get Dwayne Johnson back, if they can't get The Rock in here, does that hurt this sequel in your eyes? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I have more mixed feelings about Lin-Manuel Miranda now than I did pre Little Mermaid, because it's because I remember watching Little Mermaid, and I remember at the end credits when it showed that Lin-Manuel Miranda worked on the songs, I was like, what? It's like, you're the reason I had to suffer through that awful Aquafina rap song? Yes, I was like, I was like, oh, what in the hell? It's so, I mean, but then again, for all things being equal, Lin-Manuel Miranda has a pretty good batting record. So I'm interested to see that they couldn't get him back. As for Dwayne Johnson, that is interesting because, like, again, he was like the biggest part, no pun intended, of Moana. He's got like the most famous song next to the weird Frozen Let It Go knockoff. He's got like the You're Welcome song. It's like that is, it's the song that plays on kids' rotations when you ask it to play like kids' music, to keep them entertained. So I'm interested to see. It's like, would it work without Dwayne Johnson? Well, no, because he's essentially the Robin Williams of that movie in terms of just pure energy.
That's a really good comparison, actually. Terrence, what do you think? If they can't get Dwayne Johnson, do you think that they'll end up getting him? Like, just if you had to take a guess, do you think they would be able to get him? And if not, do you think it's going to hurt the film?
So I think I want to say he's gonna do it because there was a quote a few days ago. The Rock is on a big press tour right now. WrestleMania is coming up. I'm a big wrestling fan. So he's doing WrestleMania 40, and he was on a Pat McAfee show the other day, and I want to say he mentioned something of Moana 2, and when he mentioned it, I thought he was talking about the live action version, which I'm not looking forward to at all. So I think that he will be part of it. I don't think that the movie moves forward without The Rock. Like I just don't foresee like it. I'll still go see it because my kids will definitely still want to see it. But that would really lower that would make it feel more like a straight to video, like the direct to video movies, how they always have different actors, like the Lion King 2, I think it was, they didn't have James Earl Jones like voicing Mufasa, even though Mufasa died in the original Lion King, no spoilers there. But like in 2, they had somebody else voicing him. I think it was Phil Lamar, I think it was, who did his voice. Somebody like a pretty significant voice actor did his voice for the Lion King 2, which is directed to DVD. But like if this is coming out in the theater, I think The Rock knows it's going to make a lot of money, so he would definitely jump in there to try to get some of that percentage.
It's a good point.
So I definitely, I for sure see him being there. But of course, that's not guaranteed because his schedule is something crazy.
Yeah, he's also not someone who sleeps very much from what I've seen. So maybe he'll find a way to squeeze some time in there. But anyway, guys, Moana 2 coming to theaters this November. I cannot believe it's coming this November. I don't think I've ever seen a movie announced in the same year, not even just the same year, but like a couple months away from its release date. I mean, that's crazy. Do we buy or sell Moana 2 coming to theaters? I mean, yeah, I'm buying it. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I just hope it doesn't turn out like the Spider-Verse sequel where they have to like man the whip. It's like work overtime and get no pay.
Dude, I'm sad to say I think that's exactly what's happening over at Disney right
Yes.
now.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Take
Yeah,
your whatever, it was probably about 3 or 4 hours. Take your 3-4 hour TV show, crunch it down into 2 hours at the most, and work overtime to do it. I think that's exactly what's happening over there.
for sure.
All right, guys, with that, moving on to our third topic. And this one, I'm hoping that we're all very excited about because I'm very excited about this. Because Predator is a franchise. I only really liked the original Arnold Schwarzenegger one that came out in like 1987. And then Predator 2 wasn't a big fan of. Predators was fine. The Predator was just awful.
Ugh.
Yeah, just awful. And then Alien versus Predator was fine. The second one was a complete abysmal. Hated that movie. So Predator is a weird franchise for me because I say I like it, but realistically, I only really like one movie in it. That is until Prey came out. Prey came out. When was that? Was that 2022? Prey came out in 2022, and it was back to the basics, back to the roots of what made Predator great. And they had a great director at the helm of it. And it came out on, well, for the States, it was Hulu, but for me, it was Disney Plus. So watched it at home, was hoping for greatness, got greatness, really, really enjoyed it. And I was hoping that we would see more of Prey like Predator movies in the future. And it looks like that is what we're getting. This comes to us from, where does this come to us from? This comes to us from Deadline, saying following the massive success of the Predator pick Prey, 20th Century is moving forward with the next film as Deadline is hearing that Dan Trachtenberg is returning to write and direct Badlands, a new standalone pick in the franchise that is expected to shoot later this year. The film is a high priority for the studio. Excuse me. Is a high priority for the studio, and sources say Trachtenberg and execs are already meeting with talent for the lead role. Trachtenberg co-wrote the script with Patrick Asen. Plot details are being kept under wraps, other than it'll feature everyone's favorite extraterrestrial big game hunter. It is also not known about the release plans, as the last film exclusively streamed on Hulu, but given that 20th Century has been very much back in the theatrical game with films like The Boogeyman and the upcoming Alien Romulus, film bowing in theaters, a theatrical premiere isn't out of the question. Another source that I read also said that this movie is set to have a female lead, just like Prey did. It's also set to be in the future, and it's not a direct sequel to Prey. So, taking that into account, this gets me really excited because after Prey, I wanted to see the Predator franchise kind of take on an anthology series where it doesn't have to be connected to the stories before it. You can jump around different timelines. Like, one of the ideas some YouTuber out there said one time that got me so excited, and I can't stop thinking about it, is putting the Predator in the samurai era.
Oh,
Like you
shut
hear
up and take
that,
my money.
you hear that idea, and you just like the idea of where you can put the Predator is endless fun. Is just there's so many opportunities, and the fact that they're moving forward with another Predator movie, they got to change the title. I'm sorry, they have to change that title because when I saw this story, all I saw was Prey director directing Badlands. Didn't know what the heck Badlands was. Just clicked on it, and I was shocked to my core that it was a Predator sequel. You gotta have Predator or Prey somewhere in that. The Badlands, I think, is a bad title for the. Hopefully, it's just a working title. But regardless of the title, I am so down for more Predator. I love what this guy did with Prey. I thought it was excellent. One of my favorite movies of 2022. If he can bring that same excitement to this next movie, give us a great lead character like he gave us in Amber. What was her name? Andrew Thunderstorm, something like that. I can't remember what her name was, but she was great in it. If they can give us another lead actress like that, taking on the Predator in another time era, I am so down for this. Ryan, what do you think of this announcement? Do you like the title of Badlands, or are you like me? You think they got to change that?
I don't know. I kind of like it, but of course, then again, I do more research into movies because, like, I knew that Doctor Sleep was a sequel to The Shining, but more mainstream audience might not have, and that's kind of possibly part of the reason why that Doctor Sleep didn't do as hot at the box office as other Stephen King movies. But yeah, I think like you, as far as Predator goes, I've only really enjoyed the first movie. All the other ones are kind of varying levels of with the Predator just being.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never did see Prey. I don't have Hulu, but I really do wish I had seen it. And like you said, sort of the idea of an anthology. Because at one point I remember in Predator 2, it's like Danny Glover, he sees the inside of the ship and all the various trophies from all throughout human history. It's like
Yep.
with a flint pistol from the 18th, 19th century. It's like, yeah, I mean, honestly, let's kind of do that. It's like, because the first movie, I mean, the sequel, like Predator 2, it's not very good, but at least it was onto something, change the setting, do a new location, see how people react. And even Predators, it's like, hey, let's put them on an entirely new planet. I don't think it worked, but again, there's an element of creativity that I think the Predator series lends itself to, instead of trying to, essentially be the MCU, which is what the Predator did and just failed hard at.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a bad movie. But Terrence, maybe you think differently. Did you enjoy The Predator? Did you like Prey? Are you looking forward to more Predators? Do you think that this is the direction that the franchise should be going in?
I definitely do think this is the direction the franchise should be going in because of how great Prey was. Um, I did not enjoy the Predator. It had potential, but I think all of the Predator movies had potential. I thought Predator 2 had potential to be better than Predator 1, but they just missed it slightly. I enjoyed Predator 2. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't it wasn't Predator. Predator is an iconic classic Arnold movie. And Prey just I don't know. I don't know if you could recapture that. Like I really don't. I've been seeing a few different movies. Like I just went and saw Out of Darkness, right? Which has a lot of like the feel of Prey, but more of a horror centric, and it completely missed, right? And I only mention that to say that trying to recapture like I originally heard Badlands was supposed to be set in World War II. I heard they were working. Like I heard this a few months ago that they were working on a Prey sequel, but it was set in World War II, and that had me excited. But
Ooh,
if
that's
this is set in the future, I don't think I want to see that. Like I
well.
want to see
It was
something.
sorry. I should clarify. It's set in the future from where Prey was, so
Oh,
it's
okay,
not going to
okay.
take place in that time era. It's going to be in the future from that place, so not necessarily from where
Okay.
we stand today.
Okay, thank goodness, because I don't want to see any future laser sci-fi predators anymore after the Predator. But yeah, like so Badlands, I'm thinking of like a Western setting. Like when I think of Badlands, I think
Mm.
of like, Wyoming, Wyoming, the great wide west, which we've already seen with Cowboys and Aliens, I feel like. So maybe they could do it better. I actually enjoy Cowboys and Aliens. I didn't think it was that bad of a movie. But I mean, I'll watch it. Like, I hope it does come out, in theaters because I think Prey would have really. I don't think Prey would have made that much money because the Predator IP had really fallen at that point. But word of mouth might have got it past, where it needed to be. So this, because of Prey, I think putting it out in the theater is the right way to go. But if it comes out on Hulu, I'll definitely watch it because no, I like going to the movies more. I think this is definitely a better movie to see in the theater. Anything with predators and a lot of people dying is always fun to watch in the theater.
My
Well, I
dad
mean,
had, yeah.
couldn't have said it any better myself right there. So, I mean, do we buy or sell this franchise moving forward in this direction? Yeah, absolutely, completely buy
For
it.
sure.
And I'm with you, man. I hope that the success of Prey on streaming, like, I understand putting it there because the Predator franchise was in the dirt when that movie came out. But Prey did so well on streaming, it got people to love the Predator franchise again. You put this one in theaters now. I think now it has. If you change that title or at least market it right, I think you can get a lot of butts and seats.
So I do have a question. Are you familiar with the Roadhouse saga? Like, where do you stand on Roadhouse going
I've
to
actually
straight to streaming?
I actually have not. Okay, yeah. I haven't seen the original film, but I did see. I saw the article that the director himself wrote. Um, just scorching Amazon, and I was kind of like, "Bravo to you! I hope you get to work in Hollywood again." Like,
I can't remember who the director is. I think like he's not like I don't think I mean,
he's not
he's
a big
no
name.
Christopher Nolan, but at the same time, he's not like a Tommy Wiseau either. Like
Yeah, but
like
like I
I
was
think
just looking. I was just looking at this article. Like, I remember when Josh Trank said on Twitter, "Hey,
Oh
you will not
yeah.
see this version that I made of Fantastic Four." Where has Josh Trank been since? He's like been blacklisted in Hollywood. This guy
He made
wrote
a
an
Capone
entire
movie.
like an entire article just scorching the crap out of one of the biggest studio in the entire industry. Like, I'm worried for his future, but I also think he has major balls. And yeah, I feel bad for him that I guess he was promised this theatrical release and then they've just dumped it onto streaming, which, like I said, is just yeah. I don't think it's a good decision, but I hope he gets to work again. That's all I can say about that.
good point. Good point.
Yeah, and I only suggest this semi half-heartedly because the Hollywood's had enough strikes already, but maybe the directors need to go on strike and just to get one thing in their contract saying thou shalt not can our movies or port them to streaming without at least talking with us. It's like that's the only additional thing we want.
Yeah, well,
That's
in 3 years they get to renegotiate. So maybe.
Yeah,
that
mark it
might be
on your
it.
calendar.
Acme versus Coyote might have set that into fruition.
Oh yeah. I think depending on what happens with that movie, it's gonna change something in Hollywood,
For
regardless of what
sure.
happens with it. But yeah, for our last topic, as we have just our last remaining minutes here, I wanted to talk about this. And this I saw earlier this morning when I was looking on Twitter, and this kind of just popped up. Bob Iger recently gave some comments on how they intend to proceed with the MCU's future, with how they're going to produce MCU movies and content. And this comes to us from comicmovie.com. And this says, last year, trade reports claim that Disney intended to scale back on Marvel Studios content, both on Disney Plus and the big screen, and implement more of a quality over quality. That's got to be a typo. Quality over quantity is probably what that's supposed to say. Approach going forward. Disney CEO Bob Iger pretty much confirmed this during a conference call last March and has now reiterated that there will be a reduced volume of content with renewed focus on the studio's stronger franchises. I'd say we're leaning a little bit more into sequels and franchises, Iger said during Disney's latest earnings call. I think given the environment and given what it takes to get people out of their homes to see a film, leaning on franchises that are familiar is actually a smart thing. In our zeal to greatly increase volume, partially tied to this wanting to chase more global subs for our streaming platform, some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volume, we've reduced output, particularly in Marvel. So I'll throw it to you first, Terrence. You hear Bob Iger's comments here. He's saying, first of all, he's saying we got to reduce the content. We got to get a quality over quantity once again. But one thing that's interesting there that I'm not quite sure is the smartest move is franchise, franchise, franchise. You gotta do sequels. You gotta do more of this, more of this, more of this. This is what the audience shows that they want. Well, Ant-Man 3 was a sequel. Didn't do that well. The Marvels was a sequel to Captain Marvel, though it wasn't marketed that way very well. That didn't do that well. Now, you had Guardians 3, and that did pretty well. But what do you think of this comments? Do you think that this is the way the MCU should be going forward, is just sequel, 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 sequel?
In the current landscape that we have now, as far as like people watching or viewing content, yes, it makes sense because I don't think I think that's a very tone deaf statement
Mhm.
because that's just assuming that, we can't accept an original thought, and they're not putting too much original thoughts into their original IPs, right? I think that's the biggest hurdle is like, it's not that we don't want new content. You're not making new great content. Like, they're not making Wish was a new IP, I guess you can say, with new characters, but it just wasn't well thought out. Like, it wasn't that it was like that people didn't want to see it because it was something new. It was just not good. It Elemental was it came out and it didn't do well because it was a new IP, but then word of mouth pushed it further than it needed to be because it was good. It was a great animated film. I don't think just throwing sequels on us is gonna solve any of the MCU's problems or Disney's problems. Like, if they just throw sequels out there to the
Mhm.
Star Wars franchise, I don't think that fixes the problem with their box office. They have to make good movies. Like, there have to be it has to be quality, not just throwing IPs out there. Like, you can throw Spider-Man movies out there to your blue in the face, but if they're not good Spider-Man movies, uh, after a while, like, the next one is gonna make a lot of money because No Way Home made a lot of money. But if it's not great, people are gonna stop going to see those too. They're gonna stop going to see those sequels too because they're just tired of being, fooled. Same
Mhm.
thing with Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, that's once again another sequel. I enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
I'm
me,
gonna stick.
Me
I'm
too.
gonna stick
Yeah.
yeah,
with it.
me
I'm gonna
too.
stick with that. To I
Yeah.
enjoyed that movie. People hated it, but at the same time, like, you know, people want what they think they want until they get with it. Everybody loved
Mhm.
Ragnarok and they loved Tika with Tiki, however you say his name.
Taika
They
Waititi.
loved him after Ragnarok. Oh, this guy is exactly what the MCU needs, and then they got what they wanted because he gave
Mhm.
them he gave them a very him sequel to Ragnarok, and then everybody hated it. Everybody lambasted it. So, um, I mean, I don't think business wise it makes sense to cut down your products to try to make more money. Like, I don't like cutting down Disney Plus series to like balance things out. I don't think financially that makes sense, but at the same time, I don't want to see Moon Knight season two. I'm one of those people. I was not a big fan of Moon Knight.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to see She-Hulk season two. Like, there are a lot of season twos that I don't want to see. But at the same time, I mean, Marvel has so many properties that they can dive into a Silver Surfer series or something that they have so many properties that they can go into. You don't need to dwell on Captain America and Iron Man to move
Mhm.
forward because you have decades of characters that you can build on, uh, that are already proven IPs. Like, they made Iron Man into Iron Man. Like, you just have to make the next Iron Man. Like, you have to go out there and make a quality movie and then create the sequels from there.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. And one of the things I find interesting about this comment too is like the MCU in itself is a franchise. I mean, it's got a bunch of other like little franchises in it, but overall it's a franchise. And the sequels that it sounds like he's talking about, like Iron Man is done, Captain America is done, Thor is still around, but like you have to give us new characters in order to give us sequels now. So I wonder if some of his comment, because we've looked at the MCU over these past couple of years, and the connective tissue that we used to all enjoy a lot through phases 1 and 3, it seems to be lacking. It seems to be missing. Movies feel more disconnected from other movies than they used to feel. And I wonder if some of these comments that he's making about franchising and sequels is getting that continuity back, where this movie, even though it's called, Shang-Chi and the rest of the rings or whatever it's going to be called, and then that movie will then lead into, Miss Marvel and her Captain America friends or something like that. Like, I wonder if that's kind of what he means by franchising and sequels, in the same way that like we had Civil War, but Civil War then led to Spider-Man Homecoming and Black Panther, which you could say are kind of sequels to Civil War because Civil War storylines and themes continue in those movies. Ryan, what do you think of his comments? What do you think he means by franchising and sequels? And do you think it's the right decision to go this route for the MCU?
Is it okay if I add something to that? I had an interesting thought. Can I say it?
Absolutely.
So I personally, I think the MCU needs to look to the James Bond series because the James Bond series has been around for over 6 decades now. And like the way they've managed to do that is they've managed to experiment. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't. Like, I mean, at one point with Roger Moore, every movie was kind of hey, Kung Fu's popular. Let's try that. I mean, it didn't work that well, but it was something new. It was inventive. Or like with Pierce Brosnan, they were attempting to reinvent him for the post-Cold War era. Daniel Craig was an attempt at serialized storytelling, as opposed to in standalone installments. So, I guess that get creative and also sort of maybe scale back because the James Bond movie, it took a few years. Like even at their fastest, when they were like assembly line making them, it took 2 years to make each movie. So at least take your time.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I definitely think that part of reducing the volume will mean taking time because they'll be focusing on one project more heavily than having 3 other projects going on at the same time because you're trying to pump all this stuff out. So I think by reducing the volume, they are going to be taking more time on some of these projects. So hopefully you're right. Hopefully that's what they're planning on doing with this moving forward. Look, I like a good sequel. I like a good franchise, but I also want the sequel to come out of creativity, and I want it to come out of passion. Like, when you look at Toy Story 4, they said that I was so skeptical of Toy Story 4, but they said that they were making Toy Story 4 because they felt like they had a great story about Woody's character. They were like, 3 ended Andy, but what about Woody? And then that idea just, like, stuck in their heads, and they made Toy Story 4. Now you got Toy Story 5 coming out in, like, 2025, I think, or 26. That one I don't feel like is based off of, "Ooh, we had a story that we loved." It feels more like Iger saying, "Franchises do well, make another one." And maybe he said that about 4, and then they came up with the idea, who knows? But there is a worrisome when it comes from the top, being like, "Make more sequels," as opposed to, "We have this great story in mind, let's see if we can get it made." I get more excited when creatives come to the bosses about doing another one than when the bosses come to the creatives about doing another one. But with all that said, Bob Iger's comments on the MCU's future, more sequels, more franchises. Do we buy or sell this? I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it because I think that franchises and sequels is what the MCU was built on before. And if they can recapture what they did before with new characters, it might work out. But I'm also kind of with Terrence. I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit skeptical about what that really means. But with that, guys, that was the show. That was Members Talk Live episode. I think that's episode 19. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for being members. And please tell the people where they can find you. We'll start with you, Ryan.
You can find me on YouTube at Movie Reviews with Ryan Lane. I review about 2-3 movies a week. So you can check me out there.
You can find me at Have You Seen That with T YouTube channel. I just reviewed Lisa Frankenstein and Argyle in my American Fiction. I'm doing a little Oscar preview reviews in my American Fiction, should be dropping today. And you can find me on Letterboxd at Have You Seen That?
Excellent, man. Now I'll be looking forward to checking out your Lisa Frankenstein review because I'm still working on mine. So I'll check it out once I get, because my thoughts are just like, my positives and my negatives are interweaved with each other. Like usually I'm able to box them and be separate, but for this movie, it was like, for something I liked, something I didn't like was a part of that, and I'm just like trying to untangle this weave in my head that I'm trying to work out this review. But it's one of the toughest reviews I've ever had to do, to be honest with you. I'm so boggled by this movie.
Well, I think that's a good thing. After watching it, I think that might have been the point. I don't know. Like it's a very polarizing movie. I can see that.
Yeah, I will say that I have no idea where I land, if I'm gonna recommend it, if I'm not gonna recommend it yet. But the more I think about it, there are things that have grown on me since I left the theater. So we'll see what ends up happening once I get the review figured out and shot, and that'll be up now for those watching this on Monday. So you can check out that review. But yeah, I want to thank you guys again for being here, for being members, and talking all this fun stuff with me. And we'll see you guys again next time.